episode 13 is part of our Intelligent Reasoning Systems project. I'm Sharvesh Subhash. We'll connect with Norbert Oliver for the demonstration. So our project is called the Aristotle, the Developer Assistant. The agenda for this meeting is the background pain points, functioning features, impact, the evaluation report, and the demonstration. Fine. So we'll look into the background pain points. There are mainly 5 pain points that we address. The first one is the context switching that every single software developers undergo when they're working on multiple projects. Second one is the knowledge transfer of the code base from a senior developer to the junior developers. So usually this happens in the first week when a new employee joins the company. He'll be briefed about a code base or a repository by the senior developers. And that is actually a time-consuming task for the senior developer. But then that is what has to happen because most of the code bases are actually local or they're private. And they need to be briefed by the senior developers to the junior developers or the new employees. And that is a pain point, yes. And then we have the time spent. Interesting enough, most of the software developers spend 70% of their time reading and understanding the code or code reviewing their code base for bugs, and then spend only 30% of the time actually typing the code. So a lot of time is being wasted on code reviews. And one more important thing is when they have to learn a particular library or a new tool, they'll have to go through the documentation line by line to understand it. But you can tell me that nowadays they use LLMs for it, but then the LLMs are unreliable because they hallucinate a lot. And the fifth pain point that we've observed is the unavailability of top performing state-of-the-art models in the offline environment because they cannot be hosted locally. Most of the models that you're talking about, the top performing models are trillion parameters having model, and they do not have the means. We do not have the means to locally deploy them and then use it because it requires a huge server to run them. And that is why there is a gap in that, and we're trying to address that pain point specifically. How do we do that? With our functioning features. So the first functioning feature is that you can load code bases to the LLM's knowledge base using the vector DB along with the knowledge graph for a more deeper semantic understanding of the code, mainly the Python files. So our project specifically works, and we have developed this product specifically for Python files, and we used knowledge graphs so that a model is able to understand the it has a deeper semantic understanding of the code. And then the markdown files and the documentations they can either be preloaded or you can load them in real time by using the tool calling functioning feature that we have. And the whole Aristotle framework and models can be run locally because we use a very good 8 billion parameter model that can be hosted even without GPU in your systems. And the VS Code extension is available for anyone to use. We can deploy it using the VS Code extension. When we say the extension is available, we don't mean the extension is available directly from the VS Code. We mean to say that you can use our GitHub repository to deploy our script, our server in your system locally, and then install the extension from our server and then use it directly from there. From a UI, you can actually see the GitHub repository. So these are the functioning features. So we'll now see the evaluation metrics. This is the most important thing. So how are we? Are we just using the LLMs directly for the answer and then giving out answers just like the base foundational models? No, because we are giving a way better, relevant, accurate answer. So there is a library called as RAGAS. It's called Retrieval Augmented Generation Assessment. And this is actually a tool available. Anyone can actually use it. So This particular tool is specifically used for evaluating LLM applications and LLM responses or even RAG systems, 0.47. While if you see the same model that's being used in Aristotle framework, that is the Llama 3.18b, 8 billion parameters, the score is actually very much less because the Llama is not informed enough with its framework like how Aristotle is. So that is the main unique feature of our product with our whole agentic framework. So Aristotle can be understood like a agentic framework because we use multiple different query actions that the LLMs perform before giving you an answer, like tool calling on all of that on graph and the vector DBs. So the impact we have improved with this particular product, and along with this you can actually see even the response time distribution in our GitHub repository. You can clearly see the response time is there within 30 seconds. So most of the questions were answered within 30 seconds. So there is a huge plus. So, and along with accuracy, and it can be deployed in your local system. So it's a huge value proposition. So with that, the impact is huge. We can significantly improve productivity in software development cycles. We can get the easier and personalized knowledge transfer of proprietary code-based wisdom to new employees. And the academics, students, researchers, and developers can use Aristotle to learn new libraries and technologies quickly. And then it's more memory efficient, so it is deployable in your VS Code as an extension, and along with competitive performance. And it's an open source system, so the GitHub repository is all open, public, free. So anyone can actually build on top of it. You can even give us a pull request, and then we would we'll love to collaborate with you and then improve the product.
Hello everyone, my name is Norbert Oliver, and now I'm going to show you a demo of Aristotle in action. So here we have Aristotle installed as a VS Code extension, you can see on our list. And Aristotle actually integrates very nicely with VS Code chat. So what we can do here is that we can actually tag Aristotle in VS Code chat and begin asking it questions or loading code bases. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check what are the loaded code bases that have been loaded. And we can see here, Aristotle actually responds. The code bases that have been loaded are Keras, Attributes, Graffiti, Qlib, and Cockney, which is correct. So now we're actually going to ask a very specific question, a very hard question that we can find in this database from Kudu Deep Code Bench. And this has a list of very heavy-hitting and very hard questions, code-based specific questions. And if we actually ask one of these questions to Gemini, we can actually see here that Gemini doesn't actually produce the correct output. It should be a class. And here, we can ask Aristotle in Keras which class does the saving logic instance. And we can see here that Aristotle produces the correct answer, unlike ChatGPT or Gemini. And another thing that Aristotle can do is that Aristotle can actually read files as well. So here, for example, if we open up this file and add them as a reference file, Aristotle can actually read this whole file. And now we can actually ask questions related to this file. For example, we can actually tell Aristotle to load the code base that is imported in the file. And we can see that Aristotle has read the file that we've tagged as a reference and is now currently actually loading the codebase here, Graffiti Core, which is actually mentioned in the file. Skipping forward, where all the codebases have been loaded, in this case, Aristotle has successfully loaded Graffiti into the codebase because it takes a while to parse all the files. We can actually ask questions about Graffiti. For example, and here we can see that because Graffiti have been successfully loaded, we can actually make a general query here. So in conclusion, Aristotle actually loads code bases into knowledge graphs and vector DB for them to be able to be searched, and so that agents will be able to answer specific questions such as this or general questions such as from before.